G'day guys, and welcome back to Supercoach with DR. For today's video, we're going to have a look at the Supercoach 2020 buy rounds. Now I must admit, it's something that I hadn't even considered yet. I haven't even thought of the buy rounds yet. But good old Freo Tragic left a comment down in one of my other videos and suggested that, hey, maybe it's time that we all start to look ahead to the buys. We know it's only, pre-season at the moment, but I think it's important that we at least have a look at how our teams might fare during the buy rounds. So for this video, we're going to have a look at, obviously, when each team has their bye. We'll talk about whether or not it's important to even bother planning for the buys or not. We'll take a look at how each line will be affected and then give an overall picture round by round rather than line by line. And then finish off by looking at how a team with some high ownership players may fare during the buy rounds. So in round 12, we can see that we've got the Power, the Saints, the Eagles, Bombers, Cats and Lions. Bit cheeky there, I did put the Fitzroy logo in. I'm an old Roy boy, so any chance I can whack it in there, I'll do that. Round 13, we've got the Swans, the Tigers, the Blues, the Dockers, the D's and the Pies. And rounding off the buys in round 14, we've got the Crows, North, the Suns, the Giants, the Dogs, and the Hawks. So some quick observations. Round 12, just looking at the teams there, looks like it may be a bit of a friendly round because we've got some teams that may not be super coach relevant, particularly looking at, the Bombers, the Saints, and also possibly the Power. We'll look at round 12 and we see that Melbourne and Collingwood both share the bye. And that means that a very popular combination in our rucks in Gawn and Grundy will both not be available during round 13. And finally, I'm looking ahead to round 14 and I'm loving the fact that Gold Coast have the last bye because I'm keen on at least three of their rookies. I'm looking, players like Rankin, Rao and Flanders. And we can maybe or hopefully possibly plan to have them available for the first two buy rounds and then upgrade them in round 14 and ship them off and maybe get some of those premium players in that have already had their buys in round 12 or round 13. So how important is it to plan for the buys and when do we start doing it? Look, there are so many different opinions on this and I think there's one key question that you need to ask yourself, and that's, are you playing for league wins or are you playing for an overall rank? If you're playing for league wins, you can take the hit for 1 week, pencil in the loss, and hopefully, or more than likely, you'll be strong for the next two buy rounds. And hey, if you've only got the 15 players playing on field for the week and you get a score of, 1300, then so be it if you're a league player. However, if you're going for an overall rank and you're trying to get as close to the 50k as you can, then you need every little competitive advantage that you can get. And I think it's really important to take the buys into consideration. And look, in saying all this, all of our best laid plans can go out the door, as a lot can happen between rounds 1 and 12. I remember, a couple of years back, I'd banked on Walters being available for a particular buy round. Then he turns around the week before and he bloody headbutts someone and gets himself rubbed out. So sometimes the Supercoach gods and our players can be very cruel to us. So let's start off by having a look at the defenders. So first of all, you notice a couple of things. There's some players with an asterisk next to their name. That means that they're in the 12th highest priced players in their position. And the ones that I've got in green are players who I think will have a fairly high ownership. So we look at Hearn, Stewart, Rich, Houston, Darcy Byrne-Jones, Michael Hurley and Dylan Robertson, unavailable in round 12. On round 13, we'll be missing Hooley, Lloyd, Rampy, Newman, Ryan, Vlaston, Salem, Crisp, Dawson, Doherty, Mills, SBS, and Stephen Hill. So you notice that you've got, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 asterisks is there. So that means that you've got almost half of the top 12 defenders unavailable during round 13. But the popular picks here, I've gotten Lloyd, Hooley, Doherty, and Hill. I'm not sure if the other players will have a really high ownership. We look at round 14. So not a heap of players missing, but we look at the quality of players. Those 4 asterisks there that are all in green. In Williams, Daniel, Laird, and Sicily. And I think that all 4 of those players will be really popular picks. I think it's a given that most of us will have Doherty, who won't be available in round 13. And as I said, I think Hill will be a really popular pick there as well. Now, you could argue he's not going to be a premium, but some of us might want to hold on to him, possibly after the buys if he's going to be one of the last players that you look to upgrade if you haven't fully upgraded by then. But yeah, round 14, I've thought of starting with all of these players, to be honest. I'm sure most of us have at least looked at them as well. Let's have a look now at the midfielders. So round 12, we've got Neil, Dangerfield, Yo as asterisks, Gaff, Tim Kelly, Boak, Zorko and Zeret. So I've only highlighted 3 in the green there, in Neil, Dangerfield and Kelly. I've seen a few teams with Yo, but I really couldn't say that I've seen many with Gaff, Boak, Zorko or Zeret. We look to round 13. We've got the first 4 highlighted in green there in Fife, Cripps, Trelaw and Oliver. Other players that may be of note, which I don't think will have high ownerships, got JPK, Parker, Pendles, along with Dion Prestia. And then looking into round 14, bit of a scary round. We've got McRae, Dunkley and the Bont, obviously all from the Bulldogs. Then we've got a couple of giants in Josh Kelly, well, more than a couple, Kelly, Cogs and Taranto. I don't think Taranto will be a hugely popular pick, but nonetheless, there's 3 giants as well. Then we've got Mitchell, Sloan, Crouch as well. So round 14 could trouble a few of us as well, particularly with players, as I said, like your McRae, Dunkley, Josh Kelly. I know that many teams are starting with those 3 players. And again, you look at round 13, I know many teams that are starting with all of Fife, Cripps and Oliver as well. So let's quickly look at the Rucks. Look, as we said, first of all, Gawn and Grundy both missing round 13. That may mean that you'd maybe be likely to pair them with, someone from round 14 or round 12. So, a Grundy Lysette or a Grundy English, possibly. Look, it's still not going to deter me from selecting both Grundy and Gawn. But if you've got other premiums that aren't available in round 13 as well from your other lines, just remember that you both ruckmen are gone in round 13. So let's have a look at the forwards as an overall picture. In round 12, we're missing Ablett, Parrish, Hawkins, Dalehouse, Darling, Gresham, Gray, Parfitt, Stephen and Smith. To be honest, the only 2 I've got there in green are those mid-price options in Stephen and Smith. I'm looking at the other players there, and I can't honestly say that I think that they'll have high ownership whatsoever. So it's looking like round 12 is again a pretty safe round for us in our forward line. Round 13, 3 I've got straight off the bat there, Dusty, Walters and Heaney, I think will all be pretty popular selections. Then we've got Lambert, Goey and Dawson. So there's actually 6 of the top 12 forwards are all unavailable round 13. I'm not sure about the ownership of Lambert, De Goey and Dawson, but you've also got Buddy, Jack Martin, Brayshaw and Akers as breakout contenders. Tommy McDonald, who's someone I didn't consider, but someone had mentioned in the comments, so thanks for that. I can't remember exactly who it was, but thank you very much. And again, I've got Stephen Hill there. Round 14, I've got Whitfield and Huey Greenwood, who's transferred over to the Suns in green, along with your green, Cameron Zeeble, Wingard, Tom Lynch, and I've put Walker down there as well, just as, the token couple of key forwards if anyone's interested in selecting those. So look, round 13, I think many people have Dusty and Heaney. I think that many people could also have Stephen and Smith. So probably, in my opinion, round 14 is almost the safest, but we know that most people will have Lockie Whitfield. But how many of those other guys in your greens, Cameron Zeeble, Greenwood, etc., will people be getting into their sides? I certainly don't think many people will be starting with anyone there apart from Whitfield and possibly Greenwood. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see on who we select into our teams or who we bring into our teams during the year. Now let's have a look at round 12 as an overall picture. So you can see that there's a few blokes in green, but really not too much. Hearn, Houston, Robertson, Neil, Dangerfield, Yo, Kelly, Nick Nat, Stephen, Smith, who I think should be fairly high selections. But what I notice is that there's not a huge amount of firepower here when we think of overall scorers in the competition. For me, it's not locked in Neil even more to my side, and it makes me also have a bit more of a look at possibly a Dangerfield as well. Because when we go to round 13, we can see a lot more green there. And the other thing that, as I said, concerns me, and this might be more of a personal thing, but I assume that lots of people will be going with Grundy and Gawn, is that you've got those 2 out automatically. And then if you're looking at, a Fife, Cripps, Oliver in the midfield, Dusty and Heaney, and even if you've got a Doherty, Hill, Lloyd, then there's a fair chunk of players that are going to be gone during round 13. So that's something to definitely be aware of, is some of that firepower that's going to be missing in basically all lines, particularly our ruck lines. And then on to round 14, the thing that stands out for me, look at that back line in Williams, Daniel, Laird and Sicily. I'm sure there's many of us that would love to have all of those players into our sides before round 14. You know, an upgrade to these guys during the buys. It's going to make it really difficult to have all of these guys before their buy round, obviously. And then we look into the midfield, and we've got some really, really popular options there as well. I've seen many, many teams with McRae, Dunkley, Bont, Kelly, Mitchell, Cogs, you know, not necessarily on the one side, but at least three of them, and sometimes four of them as well. If you are someone that's looking to save a bit of value in the ruck and not select both Gawn and Grundy as well, then most likely you're going to pair them with an O'Brien, English, or a Jacobs type, all of which will also be unavailable in round 14. And then, as we said, we look up to the forward line and we see Whitfield, who have got in green, and Greenwood there, as we spoke about before. So, yeah, forward line's looking pretty safe, but yeah, the back line and the midfield may present a little bit of a challenge for us. All right, so what I've done here is I've made up a quick sample side and I've based it off the most highly selected players in each of their positions so far in the pre-season. There's a quick little look at the side. So another thing, I'm sure Supercoach Gold subscribers would already know about this. Unfortunately, it's not available if you're not a subscriber, but you've got the show buys section that you can use. So we're currently looking at players that are not available round 12. Our backline isn't hit too much, apart from Robertson there. Midfield, again, we're missing Dangerfield and Stephen, who are the premiums. Rookies, lots of them I've just chucked in there, but I have tried to get some of the most popular rookie selections. I haven't put in Real because I wasn't able to get one or two of the other premiums, just to show you as an example. Look into the rucks there. If you're selecting the two big boys, you find round 12, and then we're missing Smith there and just the rookie and King. So pretty friendly to this side so far, round 12. Let's have a look at how we're looking in round 13. So, well, we can see there already, backline is decimated. So, no Lloyd or Doherty, Hill. And I know a popular selection so far in the backline is Will Gould, who isn't available along with Rivers there. Into the midfield, well, we're missing Fife and Cripps, along with Pickett there. Not the end of the world, but we do miss out on Grundy and Gawn for this week, along with Martin and Heaney. So if looking at players that we are actually missing there, Martin, Heaney, Grundy, Gawn, Cripps, Fife, Lloyd and Doherty. There's some firepower certainly missing during round 13. And let's have a look who will be missing in round 14 of the sample side. The backline's not looking too bad, again, to be honest, with just Zach Williams missing there. The midfield looking alright as well, with Jack McRae. Remember, this is just a sample side, and everyone's sides will look differently. If you throw a Josh Cully in there and a Dunkley maybe instead of a Dangerfield and a Fife, then, it's a completely different story in our midfields there. So remember, this is just a sample side, obviously. Great to see that the two big boys will be back there. And then really just missing Lockie Whitfield along with Rankin as well. And as I mentioned before, with Rankin being a Gold Coast boy, I'd look to upgrade him when he does have his bye. So there's a quick look at a sample side. Again, I could have replaced, these players with so many other players and things would look completely different. But as I said, I did just try to base it off, those players that seem to have a high ownership at this stage of the year anyway. And I'm sure that, things could change for one reason or another. So that's the buy video, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks again to Freo Tragic for giving me the idea to do it. It's sort of got me, into gear, mate, and got me thinking ahead about the buys and how I'm going to structure my team around them. Because, look, I am going for overall this year. I'm not away with the fairies. I don't think that I'll get the number one position at the end of the season. But, look, I always aim to try to get as close as I can to the top 1,000. if I can, and that's a goal again this year. So I'm aiming to do that, and hopefully by taking consideration the bye rounds that are coming in rounds 12, 13 and 14, that may give me and other people that are looking at the buys a little bit of a competitive edge. So thanks again for watching, guys. Appreciate all the feedback. Please leave some comments down below, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers, bye.